Hi, this is Conrad Zimmerman of FistShark Marketing, here to remind you that this show only exists because of listener support. Not only that, but the entirety of our self-worth as human beings, too. So just visit patreon.com/FistShark or click the big Patreon button at FistShark.com for more details on how you can make us feel better about being the horrible people we are. And thanks for listening.
So I trapped his hand in the waffle iron,
Right.
pressed it down, heard the screams, smelt the flesh. But if I'm perfectly honest, I got nothing out of it. I feel like I was doing it out of a sense of duty more than anything else.
Yeah, like it's an obligation at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, the fun's gone.
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, it's practically routine by now, you know. I know that I'm going to come into the room and see him standing by the fridge and I'm going to, grab plastic cutlery and just stab it through the back of his hand 5 or 6 times. I know I used to put more of an effort into it, right? I know it's not entirely one-sided.
I remember when you used to not be satisfied until the cutlery itself had been broken into several pieces. But nowadays, I'm seeing even the little plastic knives intact by the time you're finished. A little bit bent, but...
And I'm not getting the feedback that I used to either, right?
You remember when Craig would scream really loudly? Now it's more of a dull whimper.
Yeah, it's got to be reciprocal. Both people have to be engaging in it, and I'm trying, but it's hard. It's just so hard.
A relationship takes work, and a full-time employee-intern relationship takes more work than most. And if both sides are not fully committed to the business of internship, then it's just not going to work out. I remember when he came here day one, fresh-faced, bushy-eyed, bright-tailed, and I was just so eager to punch his ugly, stupid, hairy little head in, which I did immediately. I leapt across my desk, which is no small feat for a man of my stature, leapt across and beat him about the head and neck until we were both crying. And these days I look at him and it's all I can do to just jab a pencil in his nipple.
Can you believe that I actually started scheduling torture sessions?
That shouldn't be the case. That you shouldn't have to.
I should just look at him and think to myself, oh my God, I want to stretch his legs so far apart that they come around and touch his ears. I can't muster it up. I think to myself, you know what? I'll do it Thursday. I'll just pencil in a little time after lunch and we'll take care of it Thursday.
I remember just 2 weeks ago I brought in some industrial superglue. I was gonna shut his asshole up. I just didn't. The glue's not even opened. It's on my desk, not even opened.
No?
The thought at the time made me laugh.
Right.
He won't be able to shit until he goes to the hospital and has his cheeks prized open, but...
Is it worth it in the end? Yeah.
I mean, how many more times am I going to try and stop the guy from shitting?
How many more ways could there possibly be? I mean...
15 more ways, actually. I've done the numbers, I've done the science, but...
Yeah.
It just feels like 15 too many.
I'm
I'm burned out. I'm burned out on tormenting our intern, and that's no way to live your life as an executive.
No, you've got to have that passion. I mean, it informs everything else in your life. I mean, if you don't have the sort of energy and enthusiasm that you get from this kind of very intimate, and important relationship, where are you going to have the fire in the rest of your life? To be making those deals, to be representing our clients. It's important.
He's never had this much recuperation time.
No.
Most of his hair's grown back. He's started to be able to see out of his left eye again.
I think he's been getting some time in at the gym. because he's starting to appear to have some muscle definition again, and I haven't made the time to strap him to the chair and force feed him processed foods. I haven't made that time.
Oh, do you remember Cheesy Tuesdays?
Oh, sure, just pouring the molten nacho cheese directly into his mouth. Well, I say directly, but, we like to swirl around a little bit. It's
Of course.
always fun when a little, runs up into the nose.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one time we made it go through a dog first. They were good times. We had good times. They were good, weren't they?
Yeah, no, they were good. They were good. And I don't want to lose that, right? Because there's so much history. We've done so much together. It goes back all this time, and there's got to be some way to liven it up again.
I don't want to even come close to suggesting that I've fallen out of hate with him.
Right.
But I'm sitting here thinking about how unhappy and unfulfilled I am in this relationship, and I don't even have the heart to blame him. That's how bad it's gotten. I can't even blame him. And that used to be one of my favourite things to do ever. I'd get out of bed early in the morning just to blame him for things that he wasn't even around for.
Sure.
Now I can't even blame him for things that are, let's face it, I can't even finish that sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he'll come into a room and trip and throw papers all over the place. And I think he's trying. I do think he is actually trying to evoke a sense of rage and disappointment and hatred of him.
Well, this must be difficult for him as well. He's an intern. He knows what he's here for. And he's not performing just as we're not performing.
Do we just, is this the rest of our lives? Is this just how it goes on until, he's inevitably killed?
If I'm perfectly honest, I've been considering taking us all to internmanship counselling.
Wow.
Get this relationship back on track,
That's a big step.
Mm-hmm. I've done some research online, read some articles in Cosmo, 10 ways to spice up your intern relationship. I bought toys, but they've not done much to spice things up in the boardroom.
Oh, and it's not. What are we gonna do? Dress up in costumes? It seems a bit silly for us to do that. We've always made him do it. What would be the change?
Yeah. Does it make the bullying more fun if I'm dressed up as a naughty nurse while I do it? I don't think so.
That doesn't do anything for me. Maybe it works for some people, right? Counseling, that seems so, I don't know, new agey. I expect it's just going to be a whole bunch of distrust falls, Well,
I was speaking to Alan Jennings over at Sheeran Electronics, and apparently he was having this same issue. He'd had his intern actually for about 7 years. They get, that 7-year itch came in, and he apparently went to counselling, and now he's giving him Chinese burns every single day and loving it again.
Wow, really?
And the intern is putting in the effort once more, begging for mercy, fucking things up constantly. Apparently it's like secretary over there. It's amazing.
That does sound really positive. I have my doubts still. I still have my reservations. It's gonna be difficult, I think, for me to open up.
Sure.
To someone about this, if I'm perfectly frank.
It's very difficult to actually go into a therapist's office, essentially, and bottle up your feelings of rage and contempt for that long before exploding in an unhealthy way. It's something that takes a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work.
It is difficult, to sort of look inward and say, what are the things that he's doing that I totally cannot stand and inspires in me a desire to murder that I'm just not noticing anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that worries me the most is I fear that I'm going to be in a position where I start taking responsibility for my own actions, where I start feeling like I have problems in my personal and professional life that need addressing. And I think that's why going to intern therapy would help with that.
Right.
So that we can learn again to not reflect on our issues and how they might affect other people. And we can actually go back to enjoying not having to think about anything while tormenting somebody else.
Yeah, putting the focus, of that energy where it belongs, and the focus of that blame, right? Because if you have to start blaming yourself for things, then you're gonna question all of the decisions that you make. You have to ask. You're gonna ask yourself, is it wrong to poison these children? And that's no way to live.
No way to live your life. Are you even a man at that point?
No, I don't think so. Because you don't want to think about, oh gosh, there's going to be consequences for cutting the feet off of every marmoset in New England, right? But if the consequences can be projected somewhere else, that's what makes us whole as executives.
Yes. And I'm glad, by the way, that this crisis of conscience didn't come sooner, because marmoset feet have become the new fidget spinner.
I knew it was going to be big, right? I knew it was going to be big when we started circulating the urban legend that it wasn't the rabbit's foot the whole time. But I got to tell you, sales have been tremendous. We're actually running out of marmosets.
I mean, I got to admit, I'm not a superstitious person, but I got one. I got a marmoset foot on a keychain.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have.
It is. One down. They do not grow back.
That's
my bad.
Right.
I thought they grew back. It's not as renewable as we thought, but plus side, highly collectible now.
Oh, indeed. I mean, especially after all of those marmoset deaths that happened. I think that was shortly after you cut all their feet off.
Yeah, right about then.
Sad coincidence.
I think it's completely unrelated, but there is some concern from the Environmental Protection Agency. How namby-pamby they get. All of a sudden, the vast majority of a species of mammal suddenly disappears from the wild, and they get all concerned. So it'll wind up on some list or something, but it's going to be fine.
I mean, in the meantime, we need to find someone to blame for all those marmoset deaths, and I just can't convincingly blame Craig because I can't.
I even gave him a hacksaw and told him to do it. But if I'm totally honest, I kind of feel like that then it's not really his responsibility.
Yeah, because it's a lot more fun if he had no involvement.
Maybe I am fucking this up. I've been spending time with another intern. Obviously, he's disappointed.
Given his goals, of course he's disappointed.
Yeah, I can't blame him. It was a bold attempt. He's really, giving his all now into this effort. Whereas before, if I'm totally honest, I thought he wasn't as serious about cultivating this bad boy image.
No, I mean, I was impressed. Up until now, Mario Lopez has been operating at a 2.
Mm-hmm.
In his latest move, he went from 2 straight up to 11.
Yeah.
I've never seen such. Usually it's a gradual decline, often facilitated by substance abuse and a bitter resentment towards former workers and colleagues. But no, he went straight from pretty weak source attempts to appear like a rebel to straight out and out full bore. Not since Johnny Rotten do I think I've ever seen someone so against the system.
Yeah, it was, kind of a shocking escalation because, 2 weeks ago, it was, I'm going to park in reserved parking spaces. Okay, mildly annoying, but...
Nobody cared.
No, nobody cared, especially because he came running out of the bushes when he saw somebody trying to park in their space that he was occupying. He didn't even have business in the building, was just trying to get a rise out of people, comes running out, and the guy's like, oh, Mario Lopez, if I'd known it was you, wouldn't have been a big deal.
That's been the problem this whole time, and I think that's exactly the problem we've seen here. Mario Lopez is too okay to be offensive, to be in your face, to have that bad boy, rebellious, enfant terrible persona he wants. He wants to be Hollywood's most controversial figure, but he's too nice, he's too gainfully employed, he's too successful, he's too lovely. If anything, I fully understand why he'd have snapped and tried to go as excessive as he went. What shocks me is the fact that it didn't work.
Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. Normally, once things escalate to the point where there is, what would the word for this be? It's,
murder?
Yeah, I guess murder.
I mean, that's what he was going for, I think.
Right.
I mean, if you strangle a man in cold blood until there is no more life in that person's body, and you leave said body out in the street with Mario Lopez did this carved into his chest, I think that's murder.
That's gonna make me reevaluate some of my relationships, but, okay, alright. Yeah, I guess that could be seen as murder. But you'd think if someone murdered someone, that would put them, I mean, it would at least get them on Santa's naughty list, right? The impact has been practically non-existent. There was a bit of news coverage and some concern on local stations when the body was discovered.
Of course, yeah. A lot of people considered, the carving on the chest to be a frame job, or like some sort of political statement,
The police they didn't even bother to call in Mario for questioning. They saw that on there and they thought, oh man, someone's going after Mario Lopez. We've got to put a stop to this.
In fact, the only reason they contacted him was to make sure he was okay.
Right? Yeah, I think they put a detail on his house just to make sure nobody comes after him.
Yeah, and he called me when that happened because he was incredibly excited. He thought he was under siege.
Right, he thought the cops were coming to bring him down, and they were just hanging out waiting while the SWAT team and snipers got situated. Yeah.
So they find the body. He explains everything, tells them, it was just some random guy met at a bar, dragged him out into the alleyway, strangled him there and then, did the carving, pulled him out into the middle of a busy street. There were many, many witnesses. A lot of people corroborated it, but they saw it was Mario Lopez and assumed he was just helping a drunk guy get home, and got a bit tired and left him in the middle of the road, which I thought was okay because Mario Lopez is a busy man. He's going to get tired.
He's got a lot of things to do. I mean, he got him that far, and that alone is a level of charity. I mean, he cared enough to notice the guy. And, sure, I can see how that would, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way you said it just then, I was believing you. And I know he did it.
Right.
But I'm still in my mind thinking, how nice of him to even try and help a drunk man home. And I forget the fact that he slaughtered somebody.
He had actually choked that man to death and had carved his name into his chest, yeah.
The trouble is, Mario Lopez is just too okay. Even when he commits murder, he gets forgiven. He did that one press conference. He wanted the full... Like when that Olympics guy killed that person. He wanted that sort of coverage.
Right.
He wanted cameras in his face. He wanted people on Twitter calling for his death. He wanted Fox News to lambaste him and say, how could he betray our trust? But everyone was, yeah, okay. We forgive you, Mario.
It was pretty amazing how quickly the conversation shifted. At first, there's this horrible criminal out on the wild. Something horrible might happen to Mario Lopez, and then Mario Lopez comes forward and explains that he's the one who did it, and instantly, two things happen. One, people appreciate that Mario Lopez carved his name into the chest, so that the family would be clear about what happened and have closure?
Yeah, immediately afterwards, after everything came out, I think it was Megyn Kelly was the first to say, how considerate.
Yeah. And you know, when you think about it, it is really thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. Anderson Cooper tweeted, I admire his honesty.
Oftentimes when you see these kinds of killings and someone leaves a signature, it's not something, you know, so explicit. It's some taunt or some, you know, grand puzzle that this person is laying out, or, you know, just a deeply personal kink. But here, in this instance, Mario Lopez signed his name like the artist he is.
And it was viewed at the very worst as politeness.
Yeah. Really just amazing. Just how okay Mario Lopez really is.
Yeah.
But the other thing that happened is that people started asking, what did this guy do? Because it's not like Mario Lopez just snaps and decides to kill someone, right?
Yeah, instantly blame shifted away from Mario onto the victim.
To the point where now the family itself is starting to distance themselves from the deceased.
That was the bit that finally killed it. I thought, well, if the family were to come out and at least press charges, if we could at least get this to trial. But the daughter does a press conference of her own where she comes out and says, better that my father be dead than Mario Lopez be in jail.
My father was not a perfect man. He had his flaws. He worked 2 jobs, 60 hours a week to support our family and be able to provide health insurance, and therefore we never saw him. So there's a lot of emotional distance there, and frankly, I think he's better he's dead. I mean, it was really kind of a staggering statement to come from a family member in a murder.
It was all over, I think, for Mario when the wife said, well, I did love him, but he wasn't on Saved by the Bell.
I don't know where else Mario can go.
If a murder isn't going to get you in trouble anymore, I don't know what will.
No, he's kind of at a point now where the only thing he could really do is persist at evil for a long enough time to where he retires and he dies, and then he's no longer there to be charming. Like, maybe history can remember Mario Lopez as a monster, but right now, we as a culture, we're just not ready for it.
Yeah, I don't think we are at a stage where we can look at America's sweetheart and say, you're a bad human being. Because he's too okay.
He's as okay as they come. I don't see any way out for him.
I mean, I try and find a dog for him to fuck, but there isn't one Jeremy Renner hasn't touched.
FistShark Marketing is Jim Sterling and Conrad Zimmerman. Theme music by Ben Rama. Additional music by Alizar Chan. Our editor is Austin Yorsky. Get more episodes and learn how to support the show at FistShark.com. Follow us on Twitter at FistShark for more of our exploits. Complaints can be forwarded via email to fistsharkmarketing@aol.com. And remember, goodbye.